Thank you so much for being here. Listen, some of you are new to me. My name is Dr. Fatimah Williams. I'm the founder of Professional Pathways. Others of you have been here. You have participated in programs that we've done, or either I've maybe been on your campus or at your company, your organization. One thing you know about me is I am honest, I'm authentic, and I will tell you, we are not even midway through January, and it feels like we've been in a little bit of a whirlwind already. Like we are getting started. I don't know about you if it feels like work just came on a little bit extra strong at the start of this year, as in AKA this week. So I don't take it lightly that you are here, that one, you signed up and you trust me enough to walk you through a process of reflection and really grounding in who you are, but also grounding in where you want to be. And so today, as we get started, I'll just run through a little bit of what we'll do today. This is a session that is us discussing, us chatting, and me supporting you. So for most of this, I won't have any PowerPoint slides or anything like that. I'll wait until the end to share some things with you with that. But really, this session is an opportunity for reflection, right? Some of us have come out of a year that has felt a little bit long. You've got some things ahead of you that you're looking forward to. This is an opportunity to not only reflect, to celebrate, and also to ground for moving forward. So, and you'll see me kind of look over a little bit. I'm just making sure I keep time and keep my notes together. So for this section, we have about 75 minutes together. What I will do is walk us through about four things. First off, we're going to inventory some things from this previous year. A lot of times we like to move forward and we move forward so quickly that we've forgotten what we've come through and also what we've accomplished. And then we'll move forward into a bit of a visioning exercise that I use with my coaching clients. These are people who are executive leaders, either in nonprofit, government, philanthropy, and higher education. And so, to give you a sense of the level at which I like to help people hold big vision and execute on big dreams. Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about some blocks that tend to get in the way. And then from there, I'll share an opportunity with you for moving forward and just some additional tools that may help you after this session. So, how does that sound to everyone? You can give me a thumbs up, give me a yes in the chat. You are here on this 75-minute ride with me. Awesome. Thank you. So I'll introduce myself a little bit more thoroughly for you. And Tracy, I'm so glad to see you're here. This is why I have support with me because I sent you the wrong, I sent you the wrong link for today. And just a shout out to Taylor, who's here. She's in LA. She's part of my team. Thank you, Taylor. And also to Faith, who's here representing New York, who's also support. So I'm really appreciative to them as well for coming on outside of our normal work hours to do this with me. So, as I said, my name is Dr. Fatimah Williams. I am an executive coach as well as leadership development consultant. I'm the author of the Professional Pathways Planner and then two other books, one forthcoming with Oxford University Press called Options for Success. And I have also spent about the last almost 15 years or so consulting, doing organizational development consulting and management consulting with larger organizations, some of which you will recognize by name: the National Institutes of Health, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, Professional Photographers of America. So my sweet spot is really helping smart, intelligent, big vision people and organizations to actually bring those visions from ideation into reality. Okay, so that's the work that I do. My work has been featured in Essence magazine, in Black Doctor, Inside Higher Ed, Scientific American, the Chronicle of Higher Ed. It's important to me to help shift the way we think about our potential and possibility. And so writing is one of the ways I get to do that. And some of you may know me from either keynoting or providing a workshop at your institution. We've had the privilege of working with, gosh, at this stage, probably over 40 or so institutions, some repeat clients as well, all the way from UC Santa Barbara to middle of US, Kansas State, all the way over to East Coast, Princeton, Rutgers University, Yale, and others. So we're very excited to be able to bring a lot of this expertise into what I'm doing today. And some of you may know me as beyond the tenure track, which this is also probably why we had a little bit of a snafu on the emails and things. We have rebranded at the end of last year to Professional Pathways. That feels more expansive. It feels more like where we want to walk you through is through your professional pathway. So thank you for being a part of that ride with Beyond the Tenure Track. We were doing that for about almost 9 years. And so it's time for a refresh. And so why this gathering? Why am I hosting this gathering? Around about November, December or so, I've been working with a few clients who were really trying to figure out kind of what's next. And I should say, this question of what's next is not something that people who are floundering are asking, right? These are accomplished people. These are people with accolades to their names. They know how to get things done. That's not the problem. But sometimes there's points in your career when you're kind of like, I've been doing the same thing the same way, and I want to shift up. I want to feel different in my work, or I want to contribute something a little bit different. And you need a little help trying to find what that space is. And so that's how this session was born. So we did this in December. And after working with people and kind of going through some of the very same prompts that I'm going to share with you, we decided let's do it again in January for people who were just like, December was way too much to be thinking about 2024. Okay. You wanted to wait until 2024 to start thinking about 2024. Totally get it. And that's why we're here. So this is an opportunity to say, we know that there's more. And by more, I don't mean more work, I mean more alignment, right? More alignment with the work that you get to do and that you want to do. And so that's what we're here to explore a little bit today. So I am going to walk through a few prompts. The thing that would probably be helpful for you is if you have a journal or something that you like to write with, because this will be reflection and quiet space. So if you've been to some of my workshops before, they're a bit more kind of engaging and back and forth. This is a bit of quiet space for you. So I am going to ask questions and leave some pauses for you to reflect. So you don't have to try to scribble everything down and then wait until after to think about it. I want to give you space to do that here. Okay. And, as a cultural anthropologist by training, I know the power of inquiry. And so that's why we want to take some time over these questions. And then we'll wrap up with a bit of an invitation. So deep breath. Right. It's Friday, 3 o'clock. We're about to work on some things. I want to ground us in a few beliefs that we have here at Professional Pathways. So, first, this space is for free thinking. This is no judgment of yourself, your ideas, the things that may be kind of bubbling up that you're considering, that you want to do, that you haven't maybe given voice to among others, even your closer friends. This is quiet space for you, and it's free space for you to be able to think about those things and just have those ideas without judgment. Also, we believe in presenting the authentic self and the integrated self. And by that, I mean, I'm really trying to help my clients and those I work with move from this compartmentalizing of this is my professional self and this is my personal self, and we kind of operate and do different things. Instead, I'm looking to help people get to congruence, which is I am always me anywhere I am. However, I express myself in different ways based on the role that I may be in at the moment or what the situation calls for the moment. So this way, for example, if you're hitting a tough conversation at work, you don't have to say, okay, what would professional me do? It's more, what do I feel? What do I know? What do I want to share? Now it may be what's the best way to present this, but we're not compartmentalizing a you that's over there and then another you that's over here, right? That's exhausting. Also, we celebrate all progress and all wins. For me, all progress is wins, right? All progress are wins. So when we ask about, what kinds of things you accomplished in this past year, what you're proud of, it's not just the completion, it's also where you are in the process. Okay. And also, this is not fully a goal setting session, right? This is more the reflection that would happen before goal setting. But our other core belief is that we are focused yet flexible in our pursuits. Focused yet flexible in our pursuits. So, focused means we know what we're going after. We know what we want to either achieve, we know what we want to experience, or what we want to feel. The pathway may shift, right? It may not be the 5 steps we wrote down at the beginning of the year that get us there. However, we're still focused on the where, and we're focused on how we want to feel moving forward and what we want to experience moving forward. So we're focused yet flexible. And then this last kind of core value is the true path, or the path to true advancement is really three-part alignment between work, life, and well-being. This kind of taps back into that compartmentalizing. But what we're looking at here is that true advancement is not, I have quote unquote killed it at work, but I haven't, taken that walk that I usually like to take on the weekends or after work in the last 3 months, right? Then that's not advancement. Now, do we recalibrate for peak seasons and for intense moments at work or intense moments at home? Yes. But true advancement says we're doing that calibrating with intentionality. We're looking ahead at it. We're creating margin for it, right? So this is true advancement has alignment between work, life, and well-being. So with those core values in mind, let's get started with our first prompt. The first thing that we'll do together is we're going to inventory your wins from this past year. So the last 12 months, as you reflect on the last 12 months, and start to sketch down. You can write them down in your journal. And if you want to share some in the chat, we certainly welcome that. The last time we did this, we had amazing, just amazing, amazing wins. Everything from people purchasing their first home to articles published to boundaries set with difficult colleagues or at home. Right. So we want to inventory wins. And so I'm going to walk through a few prompts because I want you to think about these in core areas. Okay. So we'll take them one at a time. What wins did you experience last year in the area of your professional life? So, professional wins. These can be skills building, promotions, projects or initiatives that either you started or completed, submissions, pitches, requests for collaboration. So, what wins did you experience professionally in this past year? For some of you, it might be, you didn't go off on that colleague that just knows how to grade you in all the right ways, right? You learned a new conflict resolution skill. Let's move to the area of relationships. What wins have you experienced in the last 12 months or so in the area of relationships? This can be friendships, family, familial relationships, in your neighborhood or your community, at work, a place of worship. new relationships or strengthened relationships? In the area of finances, what wins did you experience this year in the areas of your finances? And this can be personal finances, this can be work. So this might be funding that you received. It may be funding that you applied for. It might be applications submitted. Last time someone, for them, right, purchasing a home was a financial win. It adds um, that was their financial win. For some of you, it may be money saved. Yes, Tracy, paid down some debt. Amen. Right? That freedom feels good. That freedom starts to feel really good. So take a moment and think about that. And even if you can quantify, right? It can, because sometimes we don't realize the actual impact of our effort, right? And just how much small things or seemingly small things or things we can undersell ourselves to ourselves, right? So if you can even quantify, that's great. And I would like to say too, there may be giving that you did in this past year. Right. One of your wins may be giving and contribution. My this is a personal note, but my father was on in our December session, and he would probably like he would hate that I would share this, but he gave me a really great financial gift last year that I was not expecting, and definitely helped me in my work so much. And for him, that was a joy to be able to do to have the capacity to do that, so for him, that was a win. So your giving may also be a win. Now let's take a look at your well-being. And well-being defined here as physical, mental, or spiritual care. So your well-being, wins in the area of your well-being. Yes, I see Catherine supported Change Foundation for 2023. And Change Foundation does a number of different things in the community in the Atlanta area, supporting families. So that's awesome to be able to contribute to something that you feel good about and feel like has an impact on your local community and people around you. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, finding good care for 3-year-olds. I can only imagine the challenge. It's like sending your heart out into the world, right? You want to be sure they're well taken care of. Yeah, that's awesome, Shannon. So we've taken a look at these 4 areas. Now I'd like you to consider what version of yourself did you have to become in order to accomplish these things? What version of yourself did you have to become in order to accomplish those things? So first, let me dig a little deeper into that to help you with that. What ways of being did you start or stop in order to accomplish these things? So when you look at your wins, your accomplishments, the progress that you made, what ways of being did you either start or stop in order to do these things? For some of your financial wins, it may have been you had to start tapping into your vision for why that financial win or that money saved was important, or tap into new ways of thinking about money or thinking about how you use your money, right? There's different things that you didn't just do, but that you had to be in order to do them, right? Things that you had to activate within yourself to try something different. For that relational win, if it was, say, an introduction to a colleague or to someone you want to mentor you, right? It may be I had to start viewing myself as someone worthy of high level support, view myself as someone not afraid of asking for big requests or making big requests, right? And even those things, those ways of being that you've adopted, I would say that those are really the true wins because that's what got the results. Yes, Letitia, I see you. You said um, created different boundaries and stepped far away from some people and situations. Yeah. Catherine became more decisive in real time as I advocated for myself and my health. Mhm. So the second part of this is what actions did you take or stop taking to accomplish these things? What actions did you take or stop taking to accomplish these things? Wonderful. So, as we wrap that portion of the reflection, um, I want to celebrate you for the you that you became in order to do these things, right? The you that you became and that you tapped into in order to move the needle on issues or topics or things that really mattered to you. So I congratulate you not just for the outcome, but for who you had to be and that awareness to take different steps and to try something different. And so I like to see in the chat if, as you did this exercise, did you recall anything that maybe surprised you or just made you feel like particularly proud of yourself? Anything that came up for you during reflecting on your progress or your wins? Anything maybe you'd forgotten about that, just became like a pleasant reminder for you of what you have accomplished over this year? Okay. So for this second portion, we are going to envision your desired future. And by this, I want to ask a question that's really going to ground us in this next session. What is your next peak professional moment? What is your next peak professional moment? How many of you are wondering what is a peak professional moment? Yes, okay. Anyone else want a definition for a peak professional moment? All right. So, yes, a peak professional moment. Let me just ground in one, this room. Some of you I know your accomplishments, your accolades, some of them, not all of them, but certainly know how well positioned you are in your field and in your work. There gets to be a point in your career, though, where you're called on to either like fight high level fires, or you're the go-to to get things done when other people in the office just aren't sure what strategy to take. And you can become a high level doer, really, right? A high level implementer rather than the authority or the truly the leader that you are. People know that you have leadership capacity. They know that you can move things forward. But sometimes when you're the go-to for like kind of stopping all the holes and fixing all the fires, that can get lost, right? Your kind of your authority there and your brilliance can kind of get lost in that. So, peak professional moment is not all the things you could do, right? All the things that you could contribute to, all the things you actually do. But instead, it's that kind of rare, like synergistic moment when you feel like you are working in flow. You're in your zone of genius, your creative genius, working on in ways that really have you feeling in flow and also accomplishing something that's important to your deeper purpose. So again, this isn't just the ordinary moment of I check this off the checklist and maybe your supervisor's really excited because it does something for them or it does. This is the moment instead where you feel in flow. You personally feel in flow in your work. You're doing something you enjoy, using your unique ability in your zone of genius, and likely working in an environment or around people and that moment that really get you and value you. So that's why I say it's a rare moment and that's why it's a peak moment, right? Because it doesn't happen all the time. But we know what it kind of feels like, right? That feeling of synergistic accomplishment, effort, collaboration. So, what is your next peak professional moment? And we'll walk through it. We all have a future self, if we're so fortunate to continue to live. However, we often set our professional goals based on things that we've done in the past, right? Or just based on our job description, quite honestly, or things that we have wanted in the past, right? And so this moment, this peak professional moment asks us to really acknowledge that you're evolving. The environment around you is evolving. Perhaps the way you want to do your work or contribute in your field is evolving, right? The way you want to feel in your work is different. And so in this exercise, we want to give you the permission and the space to just allow yourself to roam and be a little bit free, right? Free with thinking about what that and envisioning what that peak professional moment looks like in the future, not based on old dreams, not based on old ideas, but maybe there's something revitalized there for you that you want to tap into. Okay. Some of you have ideas, and I'm going to share an example because I think this is going to help ground it. But some of you may even have ideas about things that you'd like to do, and it's either the inner critic or limiting belief or capacity that's saying, well, why would I be the one to do that? Or who am I to do that? Or no one else in my office or my department is doing that way. Right? We can come up with many ways to kind of stifle our creativity and around like where what I call our genius really wants to go. right? And so this moment is to ask you personal reflection. It's a writing exercise. You don't have to share with anyone else about what that next peak professional moment looks like. So this, and let's put some kind of time around it so you can get a sense of it. So let's say you're envisioning yourself 12 months from now and you see yourself a snapshot in time about 12 months from now. And you're in a moment professionally where you can actually feel like you are in a moment that feels professionally significant as well as personally fulfilling. What is that moment? For some of you, you might see yourself walking on the stage as a keynote for a major conference in your field. Maybe you've been a workshop presenter in the past, but you've never been invited to keynote. Only quote unquote the big names get invited to keynote, right? It may be you talking about your book on NPR. Right? For others of you, it may be representing a new policy position that your office has in front of a decision making board or in front of your entire organization. For others of you, it might finally be sitting at a table with a team that you really enjoy and that supports your work and stretches the vision after working so hard on your own. In this peak professional moment, what do you see? Who are you talking to? Where are you? We want to make this a vivid description, something that you can tap back into, not just from, let me find those notes, but from a sense of feeling in that moment. So I'd love to hear in the chat, how do you feel about what you saw? How do you feel about what you saw? What's the feeling of being in that peak professional moment? Yeah. Dr. Tavina says a sense of peace. Mhm. Who else? Mm, joy and curiosity, Pauline. This is a bit of a quiet session. If you're used to my sessions, you know I'm empowered. Awesome. Exhausted but proud. Yeah. Bittersweet. Sense of connectedness. I'd love to hear more about the bittersweet, Faith, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Faith Day. Let's see if we can, if you can come off mute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Bittersweet for me, I've been thinking about it as like the feeling that I had was thinking of like kind of finally finishing writing my collection of memoir essays. And so I think on one hand, there's a feeling of happiness to being done with it, but I think bittersweet in the sense that I feel like it's a lot of really tough memories to work through. And also, I feel like a project that in the beginning of it, I presumed that there would be a lot more people there. And so I think it's also a recognition of, oh, I've been able to complete this thing, but also it's not going to be completed in the way that I thought it would be. And so it's a great thing to think about, but also I know there's a bit of sadness in that it's going to be done, and also that it's going to be quite different than how I imagined it.
Mm, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like a little bit of that leaning into the focused yet flexible, like the unexpected that comes up along the way that can look a little bit different from like the how can look different, you know? And I'd love to hear Faith and just maybe even prompts for you. Like, what does celebration at the end of that look like? What does reward at the end of that look like for you? Because that bittersweet, like moving through that, how do you get to comfort yourself and celebrate yourself for for what you've accomplished and for where just that resilience, right? That resilience to move through it. And Shannon, you said grounded. Would you like to share a little bit about what that means to you?
Sure. Yeah. I'm sorry I don't have my camera
It's
on right
okay.
now, but I think I'm currently a new assistant professor, and I feel that when I'm not teaching, every day and I have the clear requirements for teaching, I know I'm supposed to be doing so many other things, and I just am scrambling. I feel like every day to figure out what it is I should be doing and how to prioritize it. So in a future version of my career, I just would love to wake up and, know what my goals are for the day and just feel grounded in that and connected to my community in that. And I don't feel that way currently. So
Hmm. Understood. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sure there are
absolutely.
other people on here who feel quite similarly in terms of that. And this is my word. I didn't hear you say this, but that kind of like disorientation a little bit that can
Hmm.
happen when you're in a new space and there's a lot going on, right? A lot of demands. So I'm happy that you see yourself with the capacity to be grounded, even as things are moving around. Mhm.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you. And there was one other person that, Adriana, exhausted but proud. Say more.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for these workshops. I know I have a lot of work to do, so in order to be at that moment, I will have to do that work. Probably gonna have to push myself pretty hard, and and I really look forward to having that sense of completion and feeling proud of myself for doing it.
Mm, that's awesome. So because I know you, Adriana. So I'm gonna ask permission to follow up here on this. Is that okay if I ask a follow up? If I have your permission to dig a little bit deeper there?
Yes, sorry, my internet cut out a little bit, but please feel free.
Yeah. So you are looking forward to the sense of completion at the end. That's what I'm hearing you say. And I'm wondering, what would it look like to feel completion throughout? Right. So by that, I mean marking progress and milestones as completion points. One of the challenges, and
Sorry, my Wi-Fi signal is not very reliable.
no worries. Did you want to add something to that? Okay, so that's fine. It's okay if it's weak. I'm just gonna finish out the thought there because I pulled this out because I hear this a lot when I'm working with high achieving people who are working on large projects. Large not just in terms of scope and scale, but also large in terms of it may be over 3 years. And one of the workshops I do, I share an example of a faculty member. She'd gotten like this 5 year um, NIH grant. 5 years. I mean, goodness, like 5 years. It's amazing, right? It's an amazing win. It's an amazing accomplishment, but you can't hold your breath for 5 years, right? You have to be able to find what does this really, it's like a sense of wholeness along the way, that completion may come 2, 3 years down the road, right? What does it look like to mark the progress and mark the milestones and celebrate oneself along the way? So, not just for the purpose of celebration, but for the purpose of seeing your own growth and charting your own growth. Right. So it's the request that you have to make or the new skill that you learn in doing this project. Those are the things that add to your toolkit more likely than the thing that happens at the back end. Right. So yes, it's great. And I'm using this as an example. It's great to have a published book, but there's something about walking through writing chapters, developing a relationship with an editor, finding your writing voice, learning to write faster, right? Learning to write more critically, whatever it is. It's all these milestones. It's the submission of the first 2 chapters, for example, that become really important, right? More so than like the very back end, because all of these things build to what completion looks like. So I share that, and I use this kind of example to say, how can we mark all progress as wins? And also, how can we, in envisioning, and this actually gets me into the next step, because the third piece of this is asking us and kind of looking at what gets in the way of realizing that desired future. And Adriana, she's worked with me before. She's been in my sessions before. So she knows this is not me. This is not in any way picking on her. I'm just lifting out her example because I heard the word exhausted. And listen, that is real talk, right? Bringing new things to life and trying new things and doing new things, it can be exhausting. But like she said, also with joy. My role and my joy as coach is to help move through some of these things that create exhaustion so that we tip more and lean more into joy, right? We lean more into fulfillment. We lean more into the alignment of it. And so that's more than what I can do right here. But a lot of that has to do with boundary setting. It's clarity. It's knowing what your yes is and what your no is, right? There's a number of things that go to that. But what I want to share here is a few points about what gets in the way of realizing what you saw in that peak professional moment. Okay, so let's go through these. First off, we're socialized just as people, we're socialized to go back to the ways we've always done it. Right. So you may have now this kind of this vision of, okay, here's where what it looks like a year from now, being a new faculty member who's more grounded, right? But activities as you walk through life and walk through responsibilities are going to take you back to where you are or where you have been, right? So all of the visioning forward that you've done can kind of get a little bit lost or a little bit muddled. And so here are the things that get in the way that we get to move out of the way. First, we often look at why it won't work before we ask, how might this work? Right? Often we'll look at why won't this work instead of asking ourselves, how might this work? Notice the qualitative difference there, right? So in a moment of like when things get tough and you feel like your options are closing in on you, decision making needs to happen really quickly. I'm not sure how to turn this corner. It can start to feel like everything is closing in, right? Even physically in the body, it can start to feel like things are closing in. Start to get a little headachy because you're trying to figure it out, right? But by asking, how might this work? Not how might I do it, because sometimes the working it out is not just you doing it, but how might this work starts to open up a little possibility. It opens up some pathways. It opens up some potential for new approaches. Okay. The second thing is we often set safe goals, not compelling ones that actually motivate us to action. So this looks like getting stuck with expending energy on low-level commitments and activities, often just by rote, right? Because these are the things that most come to us and what people ask us to do or that are hanging out in our inbox for us to do. But instead, it's how would it look to muster up that same energy for something that is more aligned with who you are and where you want to go? Right. And so I'll give my own example here. I have been, as I said earlier, publishing articles in Inside Higher Ed, Chronicle of Higher Ed. That's where a lot of my pieces have been, especially as we had Beyond the Tenure Track as the core business. So a lot of the work was there, but my work has shifted. My work has shifted in the way where it's definitely over the past several years, it's opened up where I've been working with organizations, philanthropy, in nonprofit sector, and government. This isn't new work to me, but I have not yet published in a broader publication. And could I continue? I have the relationships with Inside Higher Ed, with the Chronicle of Higher Education. They're great partners for when I want to publish articles. They're great editors to me. But I can use the same energy to continue publishing where I've been or to stretch myself for the thing I really want, which is an article in Harvard Business Review, right? I'm still going to be writing. I still have to pitch the piece. I still have to gather my thoughts and my research and my evidence. But what creates more of the flow, that peak professional moment, is not doing the same thing that I have done, but really going after the thing that I say I want. It's being honest with myself that I haven't done this and I want to, and that there's nothing wrong with wanting something different. Right. And so I extend my example to you so as not to put, my clients out there and use all their examples, but I extend that same example to you to say, rather than set safe goals, what does it look like to set compelling ones that you are actually energized by? And the caveat there is it allows you to walk more in your signature, right? And by your signature, this is the what you want to be known for. Well, if you keep doing things that you have done that align with a previous version of yourself, then you're going to get called on by clients, mentors, mentees, maybe even, recruiters to do the thing you've always done rather than contribute according to your signature. Right. And I know a lot of you are in fields that don't think about personal branding, don't really think about kind of, that as a concept in your field or in your industry, but your signature is beyond just a brand. It truly is the direction you're headed in, what you want to be called on for, not all of the list of things that you can do. Right. So what would it feel like to have a signature that you can be known for and called on for things that actually energize you, not just tap into you and drain you? Okay. So, other things that get in the way. We think it will take a lot of work to achieve our desired future state. I'm going to say that again. We think it will take a lot of work to achieve our desired future state. And what if I said perhaps, this may not be all the time, but perhaps it's the same amount of effort, but bigger belief and a bigger target, right? So with the Harvard Business Review, it's not different. It's still writing. It's still the same kind of editorial writing. It's a different audience, right? I need to meet a new editor, but it's still writing. It's still the same word count, thereabouts. It's just a bigger belief that I can and that my work is valuable in that space as well. And I won't say bigger necessarily, right? As if the other publications are not quite prestigious and important, but for me, bigger in the sense that it's different, right? Same effort, but different belief and different target. And I really want to go there because it can be draining if at the very outset of your goal, you're saying, oh my gosh, it's going to take so much work. Well, who would want to sign up for that? Right? When in fact, the work may be different. The work may be different. So it might be instead of saying yes to every time I get asked to be on a committee, I say no and I wait for the one right yes or the two right yeses. Right? So that's actually less work, or it's a different kind of work. It's work to hold a boundary rather than get stuck in busy work that you don't really want to do. Right? So same amount of effort, perhaps, but a bigger belief and a bigger target. And what can help here is having a growth plan that's actually focused on what engages you and defines your signature. And by a growth plan, for me to write the Harvard Business Review article, the growth plan for me is okay, let me now take some time, a few days, read through articles to learn about how they construct articles differently here, right? The growth plan is how do I pitch at this type of publication, right? The growth plan is backing up, it's activities that back up the thing that you want to do, not saying it's too hard, I don't know how to do it. Mhm. The other thing that gets in the way, we think that change always has to happen incrementally, that it must take a long time to see radically different results. And I would submit to you that small pivots can get big results. Small pivots can get big results. So rather than thinking that change has to take a long time or take a lot, again, back to the example, maybe it's more no's. Maybe it's saying a few more no's than you've been comfortable with saying in the past so that you can have margin for the right yes. The next one, we get caught in immediate and urgent issues at the expense of taking more important actions that lead to that future state that we desire. So we get caught in immediate and urgent issues at the expense of taking bigger action. Anybody with an email inbox knows what this means, right? As a very low level example, we all know what that means and what that feels like, right? The next one, this one is the big one for especially a group like this. Often we are on achievement autopilot. We are on achievement autopilot. We know how to get it done. We know how to achieve. We know how to, by hook or by crook, get it done, right? I think about Shannon, who feels like there's a lot happening in that role, but she knows still how to show up and get the core of her work done, right? But with achievement autopilot, what that does is we're achieving goals. We're getting things done. We're hitting milestones, but sometimes these are milestones that are set for us by our job or our family or friends or social status, right? So the achievement may not always be in the areas that mean the most to us or on the topics or issues or tasks that actually mean the most to us. Right. And so the challenge here can be you have a track record so much of getting things done and delivering results that you get to do a lot of the high level things that other people maybe in your office can't do, or you just see how it can be done more quickly. So you take it on. But getting off of achievement autopilot is stopping that to really ask yourself, what do I actually want now? Right? What do I actually want now? Yesterday, some of those things may have been great. You would have been honored. And now evolution has happened. It's a new time. It's a new space. It's a new you. It's new things that you want to try or do. And actually, it may be things that you don't want to do anymore. You want less. You don't want more. And that's fine too. The next thing that gets in the way, we fail to see who we've already become and what we've already accomplished. So we don't notice like the evidence that we have of our own ability to do hard things. Right? We look at the big goal, that peak professional moment 12 months from now, and it feels like a heavy lift. Well, if you were to look backward, there were things in your past that felt like heavy lifts that you've accomplished. So you actually have evidence that you can do hard things. The next one, we've got two more. Talented people have so many opportunities of where to make your mark, right? There's usually no shortage of where you could lend your expertise, whether people are asking you to do it, they're volunteering you for it, they're nominating you for it, whatever it may be, right? But with that kind of talent and that ability and being so broad, like in the breadth of talent, it can be hard to choose what to focus on. This season, this next level for you is going to require selective focus. And selective focus says, I have capacity or I have the skill to do a number of things, But in this season, I'm sharply focused on my unique ability. And notice that it's singular on purpose, unique ability. It is the thing, the highest and best contribution that you make. It's your sweet spot, right? That's the sweet spot skill, the one that provides a ton of value to others and also a ton of value to you. Okay. And then the last one that gets in the way is often, and this is not a ding, right? This is not a ding on anyone. It's just this, it happens this way, that we get to certain seasons where we're shifting to our next level. And then we realize that we either lack the relationships, the mentorship, or the community that's aligned with where we want to go and who we are evolving into. Right. And that's not to say, I hate when I see people online. I shouldn't say it that way, but I don't like when I see like, people online who are like, oh, this season, you need all new friends. That is not always true. You don't know, you don't need to like wipe the slate clean of all the people who were with you before. And now we just need new people, all new people. You might need to strategically just add new people into your life or into your work. Right. Some of the rut may be you're doing the same things in the same ways with the same people. And now you need to get in a room that challenges you a little bit more or that feeds you in a way that you haven't been poured into and supported. Right. So it's finding those spaces and those relationships that actually support you for this next level. So here's what I know, that with the right strategy and the right support, you really can walk into that next vision that you have for yourself. And I'm going to give you the example of someone that I worked with to walk you through just kind of a real person, right? A real person with a real challenge in her professional life that she took some of these same steps in terms of first starting with the visioning to get through. So I think it's helpful to hear other people, right? Real people, how they've walked through. So this is me last year actually working with a client who she has a doctoral degree. Her background is research as a researcher, but she works in a field where she does a lot of policy work. And she came to me because her organization that she works for really wanted to promote her to her next role, right? They wanted to bump her up to the next level. And this is all transparent, and transparent in the sense that I spoke with her employer as well as with her, right, to better understand both sides, both aspects of why coaching would be important for her. And the employer is quite convinced she's talented, she's smart, she knows the work, she can get this done. But we also know that we need to support her with the leadership skills. We need to make sure she can make the pivot from being a doer to being a strategist, from being a doer and a high level implementer to being the person who can actually lead vision, lead strategy, lead a team. So technical skills are mostly there, but it's these leadership skills that they were not sure about. And what they really were concerned, they didn't want to overwhelm her with promotion, right? Promotion could have been overwhelming for her. And from her perspective, there were things about her role or things that they weren't sure quite what they wanted her to do in this new role, but that she was being positioned not quite in the right way. So what do I mean by that? That she didn't quite feel aligned skill set wise with what they wanted. Could she do it? Yes. But it felt still kind of constricting and it felt a little bit tight. Like this is just more of the same, but with a bigger paycheck, but more of the same kind of work. And she's like, I don't know that that's worth it for me. And so together we walked through a couple of months, really doing this as the start of that activity, this envisioning. But together, what we walked through was her peak professional moment. We didn't just kind of ask about it. We walked through and I guided her through building out the team that as she saw it. What should she be working on? Who to help to get to those strategic initiatives that her organization has. And so I'll spare you all the details, but truly it was everything from her creating from her mind and her experience in the field and in her organization. What should this organizational chart look like? Like what to get done, what we need to get done, what would it actually need to look like? What are the roles? What are the job descriptions of the people that need to do this work? And a good portion of the coaching was figuring out what that looked like. So when we were doing this, it wasn't somehow that she knew she had a budget or she knew she had a role. She just knew this is what in like the perfect world this work would look like. Well, lo and behold, her executive team, a couple months later, asked her, into a meeting, kind of wanted to see what her thoughts were about promotion, where she wanted to go, what this was looking like. Well, she had all of this content that we built out. And because I'm the coach I am, I'm like, this isn't just going to be fluff from your mind. We need to ground this in your company's budget, strategic initiatives, right? We did that heavy lift together. She was able to present that to them. Not only did she get promotion, so that kind of one bump up, they actually took the organizational chart and made it a whole department for her. So what would have been just a bump up became now she's the head of a new department. She restructured roles under her, new roles, and then also existing ones that bumped other people up that had the skill and capacity, but just weren't being utilized well. So I share this because not only did it benefit her organization, right? They saw the next level leader in her stand up, right? They saw her take the place that they knew she could have, but she needed her own sense of clarity about what to present to them. And she was not only just convincing, but she's a researcher. She knew how to back up her proposal and her pitch. So I'm really excited for her. I'm excited for her organization, but also for the person who was on her team that later she learned was going to leave. They were going to leave. They were looking for another job. But by her shifting into her right role, gave more room for them to shift into an expanded role as well. Right. So they would have lost great talent. You know how much it costs to find new talent, especially in a specific role? It takes a lot of time and energy. So I submit to you her example to say, in this peak professional moment, it's not always that we know how it's going to work, but we start from the vision and we work outward. We work from there, right? We start from what it is we want to create and we begin to socialize that. That's where we work from. So I would like to share with you what my future self and my peak professional moment, or one of my peak professional moments, is it okay if I share slides with you by way of wrapping this up? Awesome. Thank you. So I saw a couple head nods. Thank you. So and I want you to hear my heart on this. One of my deepest desires truly is to be able to work with and help more people just like that Ph.D. in that nonprofit, to walk into their power and do so not from a place of like a weird, oh, I am powerful. No, from a place of authenticity. All she did was present her vision. She presented her vision, right? She acknowledged that she had an idea about what would make this better, make her professional life better, as well as her organization better. And she presented that. And so my deepest desire is to work with more people like her to find these peak professional moments. Because what burdens me as a coach and as someone in the field of developing people is when I see brilliant people burned out, stretched thin between projects that are of little consequence, right? Or have little direction to them, not because of something you've done wrong, but because the way you're being positioned in your career is not quite to the capacity that you could be. Right. And so this is what my vision is for myself. And I want to see if any of this sounds familiar to you, see if you can find yourself in here. You likely are an accomplished professional, right, with a track record of getting things done, delivering results, and often being tapped to lead really tough tasks, even when things are hard. But the challenge can be that you're never just quite where you want to be. You're almost there, but not quite where you want to be. You get seen as a high level problem solver and not always as the authority that you are. You know how frustrating that is? I talk with people every day who are brilliant, who they know how to move things forward, but they're not quite positioned right to be able to do that at that level. And perhaps maybe you're in positional authority. So you've got the title, right? But you're spread thin among lower level tasks without the time or the support to really work towards your deeper purpose. And so, much like we did with looking at your peak professional moment, I really would like to have you look forward 6 months from now and ask you, how would it feel if your inbox was chiming with invitations from people and organizations that you admire for doing the thing that you actually imagine yourself doing, right? How would it feel to pioneer that change either in your field or your organization that truly makes the difference to moving you all forward? How would you feel if, like my past client, your role were actually restructured with budget, mind you? Like she was not just handed, ceremonially handed a department, but a full budget to go along with it, but tailored to suit your top. There is some feedback in the line. So, okay, awesome. But suited to your top most fulfilling skills, the ones that create a win win for you and for your work. And what if you had like minded, focused, and mission driven peers who were able to share in your wins as well as in your challenges along the journey? Because remember, that can be some of the challenge here is like as you keep moving up to your next level, finding the people who can actually flow with you and are thinking at that same level as you can be hard to find. And then what would it feel like if when your head hits the pillow at night, you actually feel rested, fully alive in your purpose, but also fully present in your personal joys outside of work? And I'm with you, Adriana. It may be that your head hits the pillow a little bit exhausted, but you are full, right? You are full and excited about what you're able to do and what you're able to contribute to. So, let me move us forward here. What I have created, I wanted to bring some of the best of my work with organizations as well as with one on one coaching into a program for a cohort. And this is Next Level Leader Academy. It's a 12-week transformational leadership program that's for leaders, academics, and high level thinkers, particularly those who want to achieve professional success that's grounded in who you truly are and the work you're here to do. In the next level framework, what this really looks like for next level leadership to master that, it really is identifying your peak professional moment. So in the program, this is one of the core pieces that we do, and we have time to work through it together. From there, we move to your signature initiative. So, your signature initiative is the thing that you want to be known for. Yes, you'll be doing other work. Yes, there'll be other projects going on. Yes, there will be ways you get called in to do things. But this signature is like your grounding feature, the thing that you get known for. And these things are really identified by your unique ability. So we zero in on your unique ability. I'll work you through how to find that and then how to stand in that. And then finally, we create a growth and well-being plan. So that growth and well-being plan is what's going to support you as you're working through these moments of how do I get from where I am to where I want to be in this peak professional moment. And so for me, it's important that any of the programs that I create, it's not just for the moment, it's not just for the 12 weeks, but that you actually have a toolkit that you take with you. So resources, information, recordings of our sessions that we do together that you can revisit time and time again as your leadership expands and as your purpose evolves. So I'll go here to say, who am I to guide anyone through this, and what do I bring to being able to help you do this? And I'll move through this fairly quickly because some of you know me already and have worked with me in various capacities, whether it be through strategic coaching or planning that we have done, either at your institution, maybe through any of my publications, speaking, either keynoting or workshops. I've got over, I say 12 years, but it's more like 15 years of experience developing high performing individuals as well as teams. And so as your coach, I not only bring, how do I bring out the best in that unique ability from the individual? I know business. I've helped businesses restructure. I've helped them do change management. I have helped them, even like in a merger and acquisition scenario, two large hospital systems come together and create their people strategy. I know how people in business and people in results come together. And that's what I bring to this program and to the work. And so in Next Level Leader Academy, it's a curated experience. I do not believe in busy work. You can tell. Like, I am trying to get you free from busyness and really focused on the things that matter most. And so that looks like bi-weekly learning and strategy coaching sessions where you get to tap into my 15 years of experience in management consulting, coaching, and human behavior research. There are facilitated co-working sessions. This can be one of the biggest challenges for busy people. Great, I went to a session, I learned something, and then you're left with trying to figure out in your scarce, free time, how do I put this into play? Well, in this program, what we're doing is we carve out in our sessions time for co-working. So this looks like real application of these program insights in real time and in conversation with your cohort members. So you're having time to work on things as well as tap into the brain trust that's in the room of people just like you, but from different industries and different institutions. And then we pull these things into your signature initiative. This is important. So as I shared with you, that client who was able to prepare in this proposal for her executive team, we didn't know that she was going to have the opportunity to do that. But what we knew is what I knew is let's get that vision down on paper and make it real. So if at any point the opportunity comes up or you want to create the opportunity, you have a go-to piece, a quick reference for your plan. And that's what this signature initiative is. So we create the template for you that you don't have to figure out what all needs to go in there. We structure it in a way that, again, tapping into my business mind, I know that this structure is what's going to speak when you're asking for a role change or if you're asking for funding or collaboration. It gets at the heart of what needs to happen and what needs to be shared. And the other caveat is it's a quick reference for you as you're working on your peak professional moment and trying to get to your peak professional moment. And then finally, what you'll get is access to all the session recordings to revisit anytime you want to recall any of the strategies that we discuss or any of the tools learned in the program. So here is a bit of the image that is kind of guiding us, or the framework that's guiding us. Each session builds on the next. Right. So as I shared before, identifying that peak professional moment, zeroing in on your unique ability, defining that signature initiative, creating your growth and well-being plan, and then having the community to work these things out in. So who is Next Level Leader Academy for? It's for leaders, academics, and high-level thinkers from various industries who manage people, projects, and budgets. All three: people, projects, and budgets. You are likely either in middle or senior level in your career with over at least 12 years of experience in your career, if not in your current role, obviously, but in your career. And I tend to gather people who see themselves as change agents or are moved by purpose. And so my question to you is, how long will you wait to fully step into who you are and do the work that you're truly here to do? That peak professional moment is available to you and it's waiting for you. And I would love to be the coach and create the community that helps to support you in getting that done. So I know we have some time left. I would love to answer your questions, whether your question is about Next Level Leader Academy, or if the question is about something that we did in the visioning exercise. Feel free to ask now.
I wanted to ask, just, do you have any tips on how to, you said it's around focusing on the one skill, not all the skills that you can do, and that's something I struggle with. Any tips other than some of the stuff that you've walked us through, which has been absolutely fabulous, thank you, on how we can really hone that vision of one thing that we're going to focus on, not 3, 4, 6 things?
Yeah, so let me make sure I'm phrasing your question. I'm understanding your question. So there's the like unique ability, right? That highest and best kind of use of your skills. And then there's the one thing you might focus on. So which one of those is which one of those are you most asking about?
Um, Possibly a combination, but I think it's probably around the unique ability. Really resonates with me what you often say about trying to put that professional self with someone else is really exhausting. And that's what I've been doing for a very long time. And I've been working out of that in the last year or so. So, how to combine the unique ability of, say, academia and the academic voice, and the sort of expertise I can bring there, along with my more creative sides and pursuits. So, I'm kind of looking at all the way from medical anthropology across the spectrum to children's middle grade fiction, but they're all asking and answering the same questions about what it means to be human. And yeah, I'm finding it really difficult because academia can be quite particular in how it positions people, or what you should be portraying yourself as. And then obviously kids fiction is seen as a whole other thing, although Catherine Rundell does some brilliant work around that. She's an academic and a writer. So yes, so that's just two of the spectrums, but I've worked as a photographer, and they're all kind of combined in this experimental ethnography, and I'm really struggling on how to focus on the unique skill and then the one thing.
Yeah. And so what I'll say here, part of what can shift is your approach to how you're thinking about this.
Mhm.
So, as I hear you, what I hear is you're looking outside at all of like the structure that you're in and the structures that you're in. And you're asking, where do I fit in these structures? And what I am teaching is you are the structure.
Mhm.
You are the structure, right? So you are your own entity, if you will, right? You're the thing that the world is orbiting around, right? Like you
Nice.
are the entity. It's not academia, it's not photography, it's not children's books. It is, what am I interested in now? And sometimes, and this is going to sound like a bit of a stretch for people, but sometimes the way we know this is we have to get out of our head and get into our body. You know, when you're working on something or you're in a room and you're like, wow, this feels amazing, or that would feel amazing to do this thing or be in this room or create this thing. The problem is, once we have that idea, even if we allow ourselves to have a bit of a concept of it, then we look around and say, well, no one's done this before, or I don't know how to do this, or my department won't, or this field doesn't. The first step of this is really truly allowing yourself to say, in my mind's eye, that what would bring me immense joy, leaning into what I do most uniquely or best. And it doesn't even have to be that no one else does it, right? I'm just going to use an example. And I don't know, I'm not saying that you are saying this, but it may be that you are a fantastic illustrator, right? It may be that there's no other, I'm not saying that there's no other fantastic illustrators, right? So the unique ability is not that there's no one else. It's that this is such a qualitatively, this skill is you're so great at it and it flows to you. You don't have to work hard at it, even if you are working consistently at it, right? You're not working hard at it. It's a space of flow for you. So what I would ask you to do is, even as you're walking through your next month or so, just kind of tap into what spaces feel like flow. What spaces feel like constriction or feel like I'm forcing myself into a fit, right? And it's not that you need to take any action on any of these at the moment, but it is to say, I want you to kind of get recognizing, like, thinking outside of the structure of what you see as possible, or what your organization is saying is possible, or your institution says is possible, or your field says is possible, and like allow yourself to say, this feels good, or this idea feels great. May feel a little challenging, may feel like it's stretching me, but it feels good. Right. So I almost venture to say you probably have a project in your mind. And I don't mean an academic or a researcher, just a project, right? However defined by you. There's something that you either see or something you see missing. those often as well are indicators of where our unique ability and where our signature can be found. The thing I see in my mind's eye that I want to see in the world and I don't, or the thing that I see possibility for, but some tweaks need to be made to get there, or something different needs to be done to get there. So I hope that helps you. This is really going to be for you, though, an intuitive exercise. And it's going to ask you to release some of those limits that I shared earlier. Okay.
That's incredible. Thank you. That's really, really helpful, genuinely.
You're welcome. And I'll say with the professional that I worked with, the PhD working in the nonprofit, listen, you would think, oh, I just walked her through how to do an org chart. We had to do a few sessions just to get to the mental space of her feeling like she had permission to write her own job description. I'm like, honey, what do you think they're asking you to do right now? Like, they don't even know they're asking you to write your own job description. But when someone says to you, we know we want to keep you and we know we want to promote you, we just don't know how, and we want to support you. And you're over here frustrated about, oh, I like this part, but I don't like this part. I'm like, well, create it. Create it. Right? You really get to create it. And I'm not saying by the work of your hands, it always has to be created. It's first the work of your mind, connecting with what you truly want to see. We created it on paper and now it's starting to be lived out in life, right? And it may have been that it wasn't that dramatic. It may have been that maybe it was a small change, not that big of a dramatic change of a whole department. It might have been just, hey, we've got budget to hire a new team member. Who would you like for us to hire? That still would have been a win, right? She just happened to be get a really big win, and I'm super proud of her for it. Any other questions, either about the content or about the program? I'm happy to answer in our last minute or so. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you for your time. And should you have any questions, feel free. You can email me info@professionalpathways.co, info@professionalpathways.co. And I'd be happy to answer your questions there. And I look forward to seeing what you create in the future and being able to share in your peak professional moments. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.